Okay, very good evening to you. It's election time, and as you know, the two parties are campaigning uh, very vigorously because they both want to form the next government uh, after elections are held in by September of this year. Uh, what we want to do is take a look at the two political parties. But tonight I want to feature the leader of the opposition, PMP, and allow you to hear some of what Mark Golding has to say when he appeared on a early morning show in Kingston. Um, Without much further ado, I'll just play the tape.
Okay, so Mark Jefferson Golding, elected president of the People's National Party in November of 2020, became the leader of the opposition then, joins us now to share his policies and vision for Jamaica should his party form the next government, the next administration. Welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for being here.
Morning, sir. Thank you very
Wide
much
awake
for having me.
Ready to go.
Yeah, good to be here.
Good
How are
to
you,
have
sir?
you.
I'm great, man. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So let's talk about your budget presentation.
Okay.
First of all, how was that for you? We talk about.
Yeah, it was very positive, actually. The feedback was great. People really, I think, were relieved and filled with hope to hear what we are planning to do for the country in the areas of housing, in the areas of education, in the areas of the economy, healthcare. So it was a fairly wide survey of things that I covered. I didn't cover everything. I didn't want it to make it excessively long. So there are some things that we still haven't discussed, but that will happen in due course. But overall, the response was very positive. Some commentators wanted us to cost it. We had costed it, but I didn't feel like that was really what I wanted to bring into it. It was more a vision of hope I was trying to portray. So we had a subsequent press conference where we went through the numbers and showed what the things that we were proposing would cost and how we proposed to fund them. So that was another.
So, with FinSAC in mind, with the collapse of the Jamaican economy under PJ Patterson, let's just remember that they had money to do nothing. Inflation ran rampant. Unemployment was through the roof, and the debt servicing requirements, because of the extensive borrowing that the PMP had done in its 22 and a half years in office, 18 and a half unbroken, was so tremendous. It ran 137, almost 138% of the nation's gross domestic product, meaning that just to service the nation's debt, the interest on the debt was 137% more than the nation had to spend in its budget. So that resulted in the nation having to take on more debt, placing the dollar in deeper peril and creating more interest. So the next financial year that ensued would see the debt servicing burden even greater, even more onerous. And the reason why I went through this long tirade is because it makes sense. And I hope to God that the Jamaican voters are paying attention, those with the ability to understand these simple explanations. Because the leader of the opposition came with a box of candy. He came with a box of goodies that he was offering, just offering free this and free that and free this and free that. And you heard him say he did not cost it. Now, for the average Jamaican, this guy, he's using really nice language, right? But I don't want to sound. Look, this guy was not born in Jamaica. And he comes in when he speaks with a really nice, in a really nice tone, and he uses really nice words. So when he says we didn't cost it, what he's telling you is we came out and we made a whole lot of offers, but we have no idea how we're going to pay for the things we're telling you we're going to give you for free. Now, I did ask you to keep FinSAC in mind, the breakdown and how the economy collapsed under the PMP. And now we have a situation where our debt servicing obligation is only about 18% under the JLP of our gross domestic product, meaning we can service our debt obligation. Unemployment is the lowest it has been since Hugh Shearer was prime minister. And crime is at a 25-year low. We're seeing massive infrastructure development across the country, massive private sector involvement across the country, building homes and shopping plazas and all kinds of things. And this PMP is telling people time come that they want to go back to, we want to go back to FinSAC. We want to go back to doling out freeness in order to get votes, because that's what that was. We want to offer you everything for free. We don't know how we're going to pay for it, but we want to give it to you just so you can get us into office. That's what that is.
Dimension to it after the budget.
Yeah. We have some headlines, some specific things we want to talk about, but how does that work? Do you wait until you hear the Prime Minister and then you do your thing, or you would have put this together from even before that?
It's not really responsive to anybody else because, first of all, the Prime Minister speaks after the leader of the opposition. So he has the opportunity to respond to me, but I don't have the opportunity to respond to him. So our content is really planned literally months and years in advance, because these are ideas that we've been developing over time. Obviously, as you approach the budget season, it tends to intensify, and people are always offering ideas which you have to try and synthesize, go through, and see how they fit into your overall scheme and plan. But yeah, these are not really reactive things. These are things which are developed over time.
So there would have been nothing that you would have heard the Minister of Finance speak to that would have influenced any tweaking, any new ideas?
Yeah, it is an opportunity to respond to the Minister of Finance. So yes, I mean, there are things that she would have said, maybe casting historically something in a particular light or in a way that we don't think is accurate. So we would respond to that. But in terms of the content of our proposals, those originate from us. Mm-hmm. So, we would be responsive to some of what she's saying where we feel that it's inadequate or inaccurate or whatever.
Mm-hmm. For our viewers and listeners who may have missed what you said, let's be specific here. What did you say about education?
Well, we were focusing in education on a number of things. First of all, we see absenteeism as a big problem in the country, and we wanted to make life easier for families who have to send their children to school, who are vulnerable from an income perspective. So we've committed to providing a meal for each needy child every day at school. We've also committed to providing a transportation subsidy for up to 20,000 children. Currently 7,500 are getting, and this is really in rural areas where there isn't a public bus service. And we've also outlined our idea of the First in Family scholarship for attending university. So if you're...
Let's just stop here for a second. So the programs that he's proposing are already in effect. You heard him say that there's a subsidy for students in rural areas who have to get to get on the bus to get to school. School lunches. Children have always been getting free lunches. I think what we need to do, what we need to establish, what the nation needs to establish, more than anything else as it relates to giving free lunches to students. And I'm all for giving free lunch to students. I think it's a great idea for students who want it. But the idea that it should be an obligation of the government to take care of anybody's child, I don't think that the government should have an obligation to be doling out money for children who who should have a meal at home, who should have breakfast at home. Now, let me be clear. I am not opposed to the idea of free lunches for students in need. God knows, many of us wanted and needed a free lunch if we could have had it in my time. And I'm all for students who are in a situation where they can't afford to have lunches should be able to have at least one meal at school. That's a tremendous idea. It's not a new idea. This is something that's been in effect from I was in school, and I would imagine from way before I was in school. Now, if there are improvements to be made on it, so be it. But I think what we need to do, instead of talking about expanding on free lunch, we should be talking about getting fathers to commit to their children, to be able to forcing fathers and mothers to take care of the children they bring into this world and not the charge of the government. Those are the things that we need to do. That's responsible government. That's responsible governance. Those are the things we need to do. And what the PMP doesn't seem to understand is that government cannot be in the business of handing out free this, free housing, free this, free that for everybody. And this is why so many people vote for this party. Because Jamaicans, by virtue of being Jamaicans, the PMP love freeness. And there are a lot of people who love to sit on their backsides and receive free stuff. But there is no free meal. There is no free lunch. Somebody has to foot the bill. And guess who has to foot the bill? The hard-working middle-class people who are on the tax rolls. Police officers, nurses, teachers, doctors, firemen, and all the public sector workers, and the people who pay taxes. Those are the people who have to foot the bill for these free giveaways and these proposed free giveaways. No nation can afford to be giving away free stuff, and this is what the PMP is about. It is a vote buying tactic. We're going to give you free everything because they love to talk about how they love the poor. But the idea is not to have people remain poor so that you can give them freebies. The idea is to put the infrastructure in place, like this government has been doing, so that people can stand on their own. This is how we get to the lowest unemployment level. This is what the Heart Trust and other and low crime means, that people can come in and invest and provide jobs. That's how it's done.
Or if you qualify for university and the first in your family to have gone to university, the government will provide you with a full scholarship for that period. And, that's a very transformational thing for people, for families in particular that don't have the benefit of established history of university education. Being the first really gives them a leg up, and the whole family gets the benefit of that because others will be assisted as well by that child having achieved that level of education. So those were three critical things that we spoke to, apart from the focus on early childhood and primary school and a remedial program in secondary school for dealing with the deficiencies that we're seeing of the standards of the students matriculating from primary to secondary as well. And the idea of having a vocational training component that starts early in high school education and goes right through with idea being we build a proper laboratory in each high school over time so that our kids can be exposed to vocational training and get certified up to even level 4 of heart by the time they leave school, so they can go straight into the workplace as a certified and trained person for those who aren't so interested in an academic pursuit. So these are some of our ideas in education.
Why are your ideas different or better for the country than those posited by the administration?
Well, they're different. The things we've come up with are not things that the government has espoused, and they have been designed really to deal with real issues of concern or issues of hardship that the people are feeling. So this is what
he wants to put a laboratory. He wants to put laboratories in school. Back in the 1970s, Hugh Lawson Shearer built a whole bunch of secondary schools. Most of those schools have been graduated into high schools now. I attended one of those in my formative years. Okay. And the one I attended had one of the best laboratories. Now, we had one of the best programs. We had a great agricultural science program, which I was a part of. There was carpentry, woodworking, there was home economics. All of those things were in that school. Everything. In addition to and young ladies who were not academically inclined could learn to become seamstresses. So these are not new ideas. These are ideas that the Labour Party had created long, long, long ago. When I was going to high school, I was studying agricultural science, and we had a really great program with our own farm. We had our own farm where we raised hundreds and hundreds of chickens and poultry and farm, and we were taught the modern techniques of how to produce food without using mass acreage. Now, I'm saying these are not new ideas. So if we have a government that is already doing these things, why would we change the government when clearly, if you listen to this man, and I'm gonna stop yapping, but if you listen to this man has no idea what he's talking about. He has no idea what they want to offer in a real tangible way that's going to make a change that's not already been done.
I think our situation has differentiated ourselves from the government. They are obviously trying to do things which they feel will be good for the country or make them popular or whatever. But we're really focused on the core things that we think affect the people who are really struggling, access to education, access to going to school 5 days a week, access to university education, things like that. In housing, we've put forward a number of things, using the housing trust in a more creative way to try and provide, for example, access to housing through the deposit grant that we have, $1 billion earmarked within the housing trust. This is not a charge on the budget. That would be providing a $500,000 grant to first-time buyers up to the age of 35, as long as they've been a contributor for at least 2 years, because finding a deposit is a challenge for a lot of people in trying to get on the home owning ladder. And we have some other ideas around housing as well, which have been very attractive. We have the rent-to-own scheme.
You could have all kinds of ideas. The most important thing is, where is the money going to come from to pay for it? And I'm not inclined to keep listening to him any further. The reality is that unless you show me the money, show me where this money is coming from. I have not heard a single thing from any PMP talking about how we're going to build out agriculture, which is one of the things I think we need to get back to as Jamaicans. There was a time when, based on our size, we were the #1 exporter of food in the world, and a lot of people don't know that. In terms of our size, let me make that clear. Now, where are we? Somebody told me we recently we importing ice from Florida into Jamaica. Why? And this is a function of both political parties now. Why are we not encouraging modern farming? Why are we not looking at the Dutch model of agriculture, where we're using the cutting edge agri-science to produce food, to produce a mass amount of food without using, as I said earlier, mass land acreage? Why don't we look at the Dutch model? Why don't we look at the Israeli model? Those are models that we can emulate. We have tremendous opportunities in agriculture that we can orient our young people into, those who are not inclined academically. Hart is doing a terrific job. The Hart Trust, created by Edward Siaga, is doing a terrific job in finding employment for our young people. Those are all Labour Party initiatives, but we need to do more. We need to get back to the beautiful business of agriculture. We need to get back to that. And this is something that I'll implore the Prime Minister and his administration to get to. I don't understand why we have a Ministry of Agriculture and we don't see farms all across the country with the fingerprint of the Ministry of Agriculture on it, with massive amount of young people on farms, micro farms. And listen, let's give credit where credit is due. Michael Manley had those ideas about putting people to work on farms. Now we need to bring that back and put in our young people. We need to put a little spit and polish on agriculture and agri-science and make it attractive to our young people, that they don't feel like they have to pick up a fork and put it on a machete, but show them how sexy agriculture can be when they really get down to the science of agriculture, when it's done the right way. That's what the Ministry of Agriculture should be doing. But when the PNP leader is going to talk about stuff about giveaway, those things are already on track. There need to be no changes. What we need to do is improve on them, and we have a government that's doing that. Please like this video. Please subscribe to our channel. Please give us a comment, leave us a comment, and give us a like. Thank you. This has been the Deep Dive TV. This has been the Deep Dive. I'll see you next time. Thank you.